Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unstuck Leader episode number 5. Super excited to have Dwain Daniels with us today. I met Dwain at a game changer workshop that my coach facilitated. I think it was about a few years ago, right, Dwain?
Yeah, I think maybe about 2 years ago, possibly, I
Oh
think.
my goodness, time
Yeah,
flies
I know.
so
I know.
quickly. And then we were in mastermind groups together, and we've just always stayed connected. And
Yeah.
um, I'm going to let Dwain just share a little bit more about himself, but we're really glad to have you as part of our series and can't wait to hear your Stuck to Unstuck story.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it that you thought of me to share my story. I'm a father of two, loving husband. I'm an entrepreneur. I have two small businesses that I'm trying to run. And I'm a VP of operations for currently for a computer company, IT company. So juggling a lot, but not complaining. Transplanted from the Bronx up to Highland Mills, New York. So that, it's been up here 4 years, which has been great for us and the family. And just continue to try to build and grow.
Awesome. And so could you just share with us, like, what is your Stuck to Unstuck leader story?
Oh man, I had a couple, and I was wrestling with which one to go with because I think each had a valuable message. Um, but I think for me was really coming to an understanding of what my worth was, and I would tie it almost to what my worth is, and speaking up for yourself for positions, salary, whatever that is. And it was a long time ago. It was about um, 10 years ago, and they were hiring for a position in my company for service manager at that time. I had previous service manager experience, and they hired somebody within the company, but I wasn't even interviewed. Like, no one asked me, nothing. It was just like, oh wow, this sucks. So I did get upset, and it was the first time I actually spoke up for myself after that, because I've always been the type of leader, so to speak, that I always felt like I have to by example. Like, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do all the right things. And in person, they're going to recognize I'm doing all this, and they're going to say, hey, he would be perfect for this position.
Right.
But it doesn't work like that. You can check every box right, and everything else. And if you're not an advocate for yourself, it's not going to matter in some instances. You might get a person that might recognize it and say, hey, this guy has it. But you
Right.
have to learn to be an advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you shared the word advocate because that was the first thing that popped up in my mind. And I was going to ask you, like, what are your strategies for being an advocate for yourself? Because I think regardless of like field, industry, area of expertise, how do we advocate for ourselves? What does that look like? What does that, it's scary, right? Because I mean,
No, it
for
is.
myself, I'm like, I don't know how to advocate for myself.
Right,
And I'm
right.
hearing no, right?
Yes.
So, like, what are some specific strategies that you implemented for yourself to like advocate for what you want in the workplace?
I think the biggest and the number one strategy for me is, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Mm,
It's always no, right? If I never ask, that answer is always going to be no. So for me, I've trained myself now to the point that I'm going to ask. And if they say no, then someone out there will say yes,
mm,
because it comes to a point where you start valuing who you are, the
right,
work you've put in. You've had the experience. You're a great worker. If you're doing all the right things, and you feel you're at that value point and that worth, then yeah, you gotta speak up for it, man. So I've always told myself, I gotta ask. You know,
yeah,
that's what I would tell people. If you don't ask, your answer is always no. So get past that fear of um, hearing the no. And I think that's what it is. We fear hearing the no. But no is just an answer. It's a gateway to another door, right? So now I have an option to either stay here and deal with this, or I can open up the door to other opportunities. So if you look at no as more of an opportunity word and not a negative of, oh my gosh, no, it changes your whole perspective. You know what I'm saying?
completely agree. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because, no is like being rejected. And I think a lot of folks, like even for myself, and maybe you might have experienced this too, it's like when we hear no, we get rejected, and then we
Mm-hmm.
feel like we're
Might
not
suck.
valued, right? Exactly. We don't feel valued.
Right.
We start questioning our worth. We then
Mm-hmm.
start questioning our career path or our
Yep.
current positions. Like we get confused, and that just like creates this stuckness.
I agree.
And but the thing is like how so at what point, like, did you ever have a breaking point where you're like, you know what, I'm just tired of this, like I'm tired of like um even after advocating yourself, and even if you did get what you want after you
Right.
advocated, was there ever a breaking point where you're like, I'm never going to allow this to happen to me again, and here's what I'm going to do differently?
That's a good question. I think that was my breaking point. Honestly, that was it for me. I felt like I've always done everything the right way, or I've tried to anyway. I'm not perfect. I've always worked hard. I've always showed up every day, and done the right things by the people I work for. Um, so you would hope that the expectation is the same. Like, you put it in, they put it out, and that's not always the case. Um, so for me, it was a very big turning point, because I thought I've dedicated so much of my time to this, and I thought I was going to go further in that company, and I didn't. Um, Eventually, it did turn around where they did, give me the position. But then you feel like, oh, now I have to, like, I got to super fight for something that is like, wow, you didn't see this all this time. Like, why I have to do this right now? But um, I think the strategy, like, for me, like, really getting through that point beyond the no point was finding my voice, finding the confidence in myself. I'm a low key confident person. I'm not boastful. I'm not like, hey, look at me type of person.
Yeah.
Um, but it was really finding my voice and being comfortable in that voice, and being okay with no, and being okay with moving on, and things like that, because it's life. You
Yeah.
know, that's all it is at the end of the day. And we only get one. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you think about like your career progression, like what are your like ultimate career goals, or have you reached like the pinnacle of success where this is it? And I think that just it would be helpful like for our viewers to hear from you, like what is your career path, like how did you identify that,
mm,
and was there a point where you questioned it, and how did you like move from like that stuckness to being
right. I think I don't think I've ever I don't think I'll ever stop wanting to do other things. And I think what helped was actually the Game Changer event that we did with Devin, and talking to like-minded people, and seeing what they were doing with their lives. And because I think too often we're told this is your career path. You go to school, you go to college, you get education, you got to do this, be a doctor, or be this, or be that. But we're more than that one thing in our life, right? So we meet somebody that sparks an interest in something else. So the Game Changer really helped me, because it allowed me a space to say, wow, I don't just have to be a VP. I can do this business on the side because I love doing this. So I think when you put yourself around people that help elevate your thought process, that are doing really great things, it helps you get past being stuck sometimes, because the worst enemy is your own head. You're battling yourself a lot of times and saying, hey, I can't do this, no one else is doing this, this is ridiculous. Why would anybody, in my case, I started a t-shirt, but why would anyone buy a t-shirt for me? I don't never design t-shirts, right? So you're already talking yourself out of it. So
Mm. That is so powerful. I mean, I think just our minds can be our greatest fan or our greatest enemy.
yes,
And I think it
yes.
depends on what's happening in that moment. So if you notice, like sometimes when things go really well, our minds are like very excited,
Yeah,
let's
yep.
do it. And then when things don't go well, or there's like a barrier or a challenge or a problem, it's like, well, you're not good enough. Why
Hmm.
bother move? Going forward, why even bother doing X, Y, and Z? So it just like really can just like hurt you even more. Um,
Absolutely.
and so like just as a final question, like how do you manage your thoughts? I mean, I think there's a quote out there, someone, I can't remember who said it, but I think we have like 60,000 or 80,000 thoughts a day.
Hmm.
Like how do you manage your thoughts, like everything that comes to mind? Like how do you're doing all these amazing things, in your life, and I'm sure that there's like so many things that you're thinking of. How do you sort of like sort through and handle all of like that, everything that's coming up in your mind?
I think what this year has actually taught me, more than anything, is to give yourself grace with your thoughts. There are going to be days where you don't feel like doing the work, and it's important that you give yourself grace, whether it's your workout regimen, your businesses you're starting, whatever it is you're doing. Allow yourself the space to like not do it and be okay in that space, and don't think that, hey, everything sucks now because I haven't worked on this for 2 days. No, it just, those 2 days may have sucked, right? So now I was like, what do we do day three? Let's go with day three and let's start working on our mindset. Okay, what do I want to accomplish today? And one thing that I learned from Devin, which I keep with me everywhere, and I tell everybody, is that 1%, right? So if I can do 1% towards my goal, I've done something towards my goal. It may not be the biggest thing in the world, right? But if I'm inching, all of a sudden that little small ball has turned into this big mountain that I'm pushing up, and it's getting great, and I'm going to see all these results. So the one thing I want people to always remember is to give yourself grace, to sit back and just say, hey, I don't have it today, especially now.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hadn't thought about it in that way. And I think giving yourself grace and just accepting where you are and being okay with that. Like we
Right.
see other people moving at like 100 miles per hour,
Yes.
achieving and doing all these different things. And yeah, I mean, there's a part of their story that we don't know about, but our story is going to look very different.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's some really great advice. Thank you so much for sharing
No
that.
problem.
And just as a final, thing that we do on Unstuck Leader is this table topics, which I absolutely love. So again, I don't know what the questions are, so I'm just
Uh-oh.
start
Let's
it
go.
random.
Speed round.
So it says, which emoticon do you use most?
Laughing. I like to laugh.
Same here. Same
Yep.
here. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. We really appreciate it, and I hope to have you back on here again. I'm going to post the links to Dwain's businesses on YouTube, on Instagram, and Facebook, so you can check out, all the great work that he's doing
Yes.
out
Please
there in the
do.
world, and support him. And just thank you so much for being a really great friend and someone who's just super supportive.
No problem, Endeavor. It's been great growing with you and learning from you as well. And it was a pleasure to be on here. And thank you for allowing me a space to promote not only myself, but my businesses. Like you said, I have a t-shirt business, which is called Me and 16. It's very inspirational, just hip hop quotes, if you like stuff like that. And then I have a consulting business that I do with my wife, which is called Rings Up. It's just to celebrate marriages, love, and all that other good stuff, which we all need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dwain. And thank
No
you everyone
problem.
for tuning in.
No problem. Thank you so much.